everyone. Welcome to the ZiaWoolz StudioBuzz episode 16. This is a podcast where I talk about knitting, spinning, yarn, sometimes a little bit of sewing, and about all the beautiful things you can make with wool. Welcome back. My name is Doc, and I am coming to you from Albuquerque in New Mexico, where I live with my husband and my two kids, one of them grown up by now, and with our two cats, Munchkin and Ike. Sometimes you can see them around here on the podcast. So, well, it's been a little bit longer than usual since the last episode, and the reason is that while I was traveling indeed, but well, I got really sick on this trip. It was thankfully only a virus. It wasn't the flu or anything worse, but it really hit me, and that's why it was such a rough one to recover from. I don't know. It's really, if you are getting sick, I hope you're getting something that's not as bad as what I just had, because it's just lingering and you may still hear it in my voice. Whatever. Enough of that. On the bright side, I was towards the end of being sick. I was really I had to stay at home because I wasn't feeling good, but I was well enough to knit quite a bit. And so this is, it feels so odd, but again, I have a finished sweater that I want to show you, and I want to start with that right away. You may remember that I was talking in the last episode about casting on the Tolmie. It's a pattern by Jose Paquin. I have no idea how that last name is really best pronounced. And I have made this sweater out of Elspeth Lavold, the silky wool. And I have, since it was too skinny, as I told you last time, I ended up holding it together with one of my lace yarns. It's a 100% alpaca yarn. And I showed you my process that I went through. So I knitted some samples. This was the original one where I held it with the yarn how it was in the original colorway, which then I over dyed, and it came up beautifully to work so well with that with the original color of the Elspeth Lavold, and also then my gauge was finally spot on. Let me put that on for you. I have not woven in my ends, and I have not blocked it either. And I was not in a rush to do this because it's been really warm here, and I wouldn't really have had a chance to wear it. But let's take a look at this. So, this was such a joy to make. I am so glad I picked this. I am so glad I ended up with the yarns the way I did. And I love the fabric that I got. I'm excited about the little bit of the alpaca halo that I got from holding it together with the lace yarn. I love the fit, and I knitted this as asked with 5mm needles, and I went on the bottom to the length that was given. However, this section I did not knit as long as specified in the pattern. On the back, I thought it was a little bit unclear whether it was supposed to be as long as the front and then the rounded edge, or whether it was supposed to be this length plus the ribbing, which is a garter rib, and then the rounded back. But I wanted it the same length, so that's what I did, and then did my rounded. Yes, and the rounded back, it usually gives you a stitch number, for example, 4 stitches more in short rows, every row for a certain amount of rows. What I usually do, and what I did this time also, just to make it a little nicer and rounder, I add in the last row, I add 1 stitch. So if I do 4, then knit 4 stitches less, 4 stitches less. Then in the last time I have to do that, I would do 5 stitches less. And I find that that makes it a little more nicely round and not so squarish, you know. Does that make sense? I hope so. Yes, so just couldn't say enough good things about the pattern. I have to say I did add 4 rows of the raglan here. Actually, I added 6 rows initially, and then I ripped back 2 rows because I thought I did not want to have the sleeve too wide, but I wanted the length here so it wouldn't sit too tight under my arms. And I got exactly what I wanted. Just really nice. And I think I will have to share this sweater with my daughter because she likes it too. It's going to be, of course, much, much bigger on her, but that'll be nice too. And that is my Tolmie. I have finished, in the meantime, 1 more item, and that was something that I made in Portland, in Oregon. It was kind of funny because, yes, I brought a hat. Yes, we brought raincoats. Yes, we even brought umbrellas. We were ready for the weather, but guess what happened? My daughter did not bring a hat, and I forgot fingerless mitts, gloves, whatever. I had nothing for my hands, so we bought a pair of cheap gloves for her, and but I did make a hat for Fiona. So let me show you the hat. I don't want to put it on because it does not look good on me at all. I have a big head, and so it looks very odd on me. And the yarn for this I purchased in Portland, and it was a bulky yarn. That required 6.5mm needles, but I used 5mm ones, and it was a fine fabric. It was a 100-gram ball of yarn, and I really used it up. I was a little nervous in the end if it would be enough, but it's fine. And she likes it very much. It looks really good on her. It's kind of like a dense and warm fabric, and it looks very good on her. So what I did was I picked a stitch count that I just guessed would be right, and did a twisted, knit, and purl 1x1 ribbing. And after that, I did knit 2 rounds. Sorry, I just had to figure that out again and look again. But I love that so much. I just kind of made that up because I didn't have anything on me, no pattern books, of course. So I knitted 2 rounds, and in the next round I slipped the knit stitch and purled the next stitch. And that gives you this nice texture. She liked it, it kept her warm. That's what matters. And you may have seen I started one of my Red Barn books. I ended up picking a different book than I had thought for myself. And it ended up being one that I had picked up at a library sale in my hometown where I grew up. It's the only one of the books that I had transformed by Red Barn Collections that has the original library card. And even the name of the library and my hometown, which I really thought was special. So what I ended up doing is I made, I added these 2 tabs where one was for knitting and the other one was for the traveling notes. But, well, that was kind of like a lot. I mean, I started off really strong with keeping nice notes about our first days in Portland, but then I got sick. Here, by the way, is the card from the yarn store that we visited in Portland. I'll tell you more about that later. And again, I know I told you that before, but in the last episode where I talk about these custom-made books, so the books have all the pages of the original book inside, and they're usually, I think that's what they did on all of my books, they bundled up the original pages, and then in between they put the notebooks, and then another bundle of the original ones, and more note paper, and then a third original. Oh no, wait. Oh yes, yeah. Thought I was lying. And then again, the original pages, a few of them in the front. And I meant to tell you that it means stuffed animals that you can make by knitting, crochet, or sewing, of course. So cute. It's a good size too. I like that. It's just, I mean, it's a fat book, so it's not lightweight, but just small enough to make it portable nonetheless. So these were my 2 finished objects, and let's talk about what I have started. So, and no, first of all, I have one more thing that I have been working on, but I will only mention that briefly because it has not seen a tremendous amount of growth. This is my Nomadic Yarns socks in the colorway Wanderlust. And I am on the second sock. I was hoping to get these done on the trip, but I was out, I think, for a whole week where I was just basically a vegetable. Yeah, either in the back of the car if we had to, you know, get on with our trip, or I spent the day in the hotel. It was no fun. Sad. So another thing that I have started in the meantime, rather than finishing my green cardigan, is starting something new. And this was a little bit of a funny process, which was related to two podcasts, which I watch, both in German. For you English-speaking people, sorry about that. One is a hand dyer of spinning fibers, and the other one is a knitter. Both of these are working with a hand-spun yarn held together with a solid yarn. And I was going through Ravelry, looking at the things that, at the patterns that I had queued. I was organizing also. My queue looks amazing now. It's in order. I'm telling you, spot on. I can actually find something now. But so I saw this cardigan pattern and I really liked it, and all of a sudden it hit me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use hand spun for this cardigan, which is made with a bulky yarn, and I will hold it together with another yarn. And I am talking about the Carbeth cardigan by Kate Davies. And so I thought, which are the yarns that would be suitable for me to hold together with hand spun? And I came up with two that I had in my stash, and both of these are, well, no, not both. One of them is a hand spun. The fiber for this was purchased many years ago at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival from Kid Hollow Farm. And side note, I did look them up. I know that Pat was the only person who managed the store and the farm for a while after she lost her husband Steve. And but it seems the farm does not exist anymore. The website, I couldn't find the website, and I'm thinking about, I'd tell you more if I find out more. I was thinking about calling them because they were really a booth that I visited every time when I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, and I always purchased something from them. Either it was yarn or it was fiber, and a lot of times it was sweater quantities. So this was the last sweater quantity that I still had in my stash. And this is a color that it turned out is not something that I would like as a garment for myself. I don't, maybe it's just me and you say, what are you talking about, woman? But I cannot see myself in this color. I don't think it suits my skin tone. But I thought to hold it together with other colors would work great. And it would be a good way to use this yarn. However, in the end, the decision was made in favor of this for different reasons. The yarn itself does not have a brand on it. It only has the fiber content, which is Corriedale and Blueface Leicester. This is about per skein, about 1.6 ounces, about 130 yards. And the story is that a former neighbor of mine who moved away to Florida kindly gifted me a whole lot of these, and it was in a natural color. It's a singles yarn, and the color was a brownish gray. And at the time, 4 or 5 years ago, I was really jumping on the chance to over dye this. I thought it was a very interesting experiment to see how that darker brown turns out. And I really loved it. I just never really had a project for this. It's a beautiful color. So I, of course, knitted a little swatch, which I just need to find here. Where is it? Sorry about this. It vanished. Oh no, here it is. And this was my swatch. So the yarn to hold together with that dark teal was, or with the other one for that matter before I decided, was supposed to be hand spun leftovers. Just like Tina, who is Elfenwolle in Berlin, is doing with. Actually, I was telling you she was holding hand spun together with a solid color. That's not true. What she does is she uses leftover hand spuns. That's what she did. So I had made 2 years ago, I started a crochet blanket with leftover hand spuns. I thought it was going to be, I thought I would have a lot of hand spun, but the blanket was kind of like this wide, but only grew to be only maybe 50 centimeters. I thought I was going to add more as I get more leftovers, but well, then it got stored away, and I don't know. I was not attached to it, even though it looked beautiful. So my mind jumped to this because I had picked very similar weights of handspun leftovers, and so there was already a little bit of work done in that, and I knew with the crochet taking up so much more yarn, I thought that's probably a good amount already for that cardigan. And just so you know, the cardigan itself in the cardigan pattern asks for sorry, it doesn't give the weight, but she lists a yarn that was used for her sample, which is probably like a DK or so, and it's held double. So the alternate that she suggests is a bulky yarn. But with the yardage, and like I said, with this being crochet that takes up so much fabric, I thought it was going to work. Oh, and I held it up already. Here's what's left of my crochet blanket after I started my cardigan. Oh, it's even wider than I thought it was. It's a beautiful stitch, by the way, that was from an old Rowan magazine. And I made a kid's blanket, a doll blanket, play blanket, small size, many years ago. So I started unraveling this. I cast on with needles size, 6.5 millimeters, and then I switched to 7 millimeters for the body, as she asks for in the instructions. And I'm totally loving this. I just adore how hand spun and hand dyed, from hand dyed fiber, how that works out once you knit it with the, you know, when you use it as a 2-ply. And again, this is even, I love this so much with that dark teal holding it together. This one, by the way, is a singles yarn, and it's thinner than the reddish pinkish color that was also an option, and so it was better for the needle size for the required gauge. And so how do I work this? Random, total random. So I went with the blanket. I started unraveling and I just stuck to the order, but I knocked out a few yarns like these. Thought I'd bring them to show you because these yarns were a little more dense, more firm, a little more coarse. Also, maybe a slight bit heavier. And so I thought that unless I need them, I'm not going to put them in because they might make it I thought maybe I don't get a fabric that I like. So these actually are probably also Maryland sheep and wool yarns, and I'm thinking Romney fiber, hand spuns from a long time ago. So I also went through my stash of hand spun, which I have in a separate bin, and I pulled out a few of them and I just gathered them in this bowl. And what I do is, like, right now I'm working with a brighter little ball here, so a lighter color. And I am thinking that next I'm probably gonna use something darker like this. There will be a lot of ends to weave in, but that's okay. And that's my Carbeth. I'm excited. I haven't been thinking too much about the sleeves, and I was not gonna worry about color management. However, you just saw these two, which is, that's a little more yarn. So I'm thinking maybe I'm even gonna split these and try to match the sleeves at least a little bit. I'll see how I feel when I'm getting to the sleeves. Exciting project. This is just, yes, I do need to tell you. This is heavier yarn. It's not very soft, fat needles. It's not a pleasure to work because it makes your hands hurt at times. It's a little hard on the hands. I know my hands don't hurt. They get tired after a while. But so I do need another project for in between. Did I tell you recently that I was going to reduce my works in progress and kind of work on finishing things? Yes, I did. Am I still sticking to this plan? Not so much. I kind of have to tell you that I feel like it's taking a little bit of the pleasure out of my knitting. And so I was talking to a friend on Ravelry about it, that knitting is for us a thing, that our hobby that makes us happy. So why turn it into a chore? And then I revisited my projects and I was thinking, well, even the things that I have stopped working on, I come back to them if I really like them. And so I will maybe not go as crazy as I have at times with my casting on new projects, but I will not feel like I am not allowed to cast on something. So, and after all this thought process happened, I, of course, thought about, what do I really want to knit? What is it? And I thought about a shawl that I recently added to my queue. I saw this shawl on someone at the knitting retreat in Winslow with my local yarn store, and I loved it so much. I really gave her a lot of grief because she could not tell me the pattern. So I told her, you gotta find out for me. And so in the end, I found out, and this is what it's called. It is the Misteriosa shawl by Ossa Tricosa, and this was a mystery knit along a few years ago. I think it was in 2016, even in 2014. The pattern itself, from the instructions, looks a little bit complicated, so there seem to be some elements in it that are a little bit challenging, and I will see that I get a nice picture of the finished product for you to see, because nothing on the pattern printout shows the whole shawl in all its beauty. The shawl is, again, do you see a pattern here, asking for a DK yarn, and I'm thinking about holding a fingering weight yarn double with a lace yarn. I dug into the stash. Don't we all love this? I have pulled out a few yarns that I am considering, and all of these choices make me very happy, but I'm also not really, I can't make up my mind. So I need two colors. I need one main color and one other color, but I have already seen that people have played with the pattern and the color positioning, so nothing is really set in stone in terms of the amount. So I'm just trying to narrow it down to two colors to combine. So I pulled out one skein, which you saw that I purchased in Las Cruces, New Mexico. See that? It's so pretty. And because it's fingering weight, I should hold it together with something. And I am thinking about this, which would work very well. But there was another option that got me really curious. And it's this one, Sweet Georgia, which I bought at La Bien-Aimée in Paris in 2015. It would very much change the character of this yarn and be dominant towards more of a turquoise. And I have a hard time envisioning that. Whereas using it with this one would just tone it down a little bit. So what I'm probably going to do, what I think I'm going to do at this point is I will skein everything up and knit a swatch, because then I will see what I like. Both colors I can see myself in. I mean, that's very much me, turquoise-ish stuff. And yeah, so for the other colorway, that's where I really had a problem. I was thinking a nice pink, and so I pulled this one, which is one of my lace yarns. Again, it's called Spirit. It has baby alpaca, silk, and cashmere. But I have not really found something that makes me very happy. Again, one of mine, this is Dreamcatcher Superwash Merino Nylon in the colorway More Than a Woman. One option, but there's a but, because it pulls there's nothing that relates to the pink in this, and that's really where I'm thinking that's probably not a good idea. So this is probably going to get knocked out. I could totally see this color with it. Oh, I'm sorry about the light, the glare here. It's a pastelish yellow, which I purchased in Williamsburg, Virginia, a few years ago. I don't think this company dyes anymore. They're Kismet Fiberworks. And the yellow would very nicely pick up a similar color in this one. So that would work. However, I have nothing in this toned down color scheme that would work with it. The only thing in the yellow family that I have in a lace weight is this. Again, oh my goodness, it looks so different on camera. It's a yarn that I purchased in Taos last year from Enchanted Fiber Guild. Their tags are sometimes a little bit confusing, but I'm pretty sure this is the correct one. It's a 100% baby alpaca. They always put such nice, yarns on sale and really like nice stuff, or it's just discontinued colors. So I usually purchase stuff from them. I really like the base, but I don't know. I have to knit up a sample. So I'm probably going to ball them up and see how that goes. The other option would be to buy a lace yarn that goes with this. And if I'm going to end up with this combo, I may actually do that, or I'm almost out of lace yarn to dye for ZiaWoolz. And side note, hey, I'm the dyer behind ZiaWoolz. I haven't mentioned that in a while. So I could totally dye up something to go with this skein. So that's, yes. You see, I'm really very undecided, and I guess that's the reason why I have not balled up any of these. There is one more option, of course, I could also hold these two together. And at least the orange bits in this yarn would pick up some of the orange bits in that. This again is the yarn that I used for the Tolmie sweater, but in a different colorway, also dyed. One of my yarns that I dyed. That fine, very fine 100% alpaca, which actually I think is finer than this one. So, oh, so undecided. Terrible. That's it about the knitting. I did want to talk to you about a little bit of sewing that I've done recently, and then I have a little bit of new things that I've purchased. I have played a little bit with quilted stitches, and so I recently made this bag for myself. I thought I was going to take I thought I was going to use it on the trip, but I ended up not needing it because I had only one pair of socks. And I don't know if you can see that, but it has a very simple quilted stitching in diagonal lines. And what I did on this one is there's no quilt stitching on the inside, but I just applied this band as you do for Quilt As You Go, and then I added these other two pieces and did the top stitching on the linen. I hope you can see that. And so all of that to connect this outer layer with the cotton batting. I usually make very washable bags, so I'm a little worried how this will act when I wash it. Because it's not, again, it's not connected with the lining of the bag in any way. So I shall see. I also made a big one, similar fashion. And it was actually Debbie, who of Periscoping Sisters podcast, who inspired me to work with these, I think they're called charm packs, right? Where you purchase a stack of the pre-cut fabrics, quilt fabrics. And this one I just had to get because of this top square with the sheep. I thought that was so cute. And then I combined other, I just randomly did the other ones. And I am sure the way I did this was kind of impractical. For quilters would probably do that in a much smarter way, but whatever, it worked for me. Some of these, like here in the back, what I did was I actually drew lines for the top stitching with a fusion pen that vanishes when you iron over it. But I'm sure there are different ways. And I think I saw something where someone had a paper ruler that was running on the fabric. So you would stitch next to that paper ruler for this, the quilting. I thought, well, that's smart. That saves you a little bit of time, saves you the drawing the line and whatnot. So the back of this, by the way, as well as the back of this one, I got in New York at Pearl Soho quite a bit of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I find this is the very first time that I actually use these fabrics. So I was excited about that. I made another bag, which is similarly made, and it is going to be a gift for a friend, but I don't think she watches the podcast. So that's going to be hers. Very modern fabrics. Again, the back side just a solid, just a one color. Colorful, bright lining. Now that I've shown you, I can actually pack up her package and send that on the way. And I also have started one more, which is not finished yet. And that is a cat one, which I am making for myself. I love these fabrics. So cute. Oh, look at that cat in the middle. And I have started one more where I haven't even done this strap. But this is the main outer piece. I don't know, where's the top? Oh yeah, probably this way. And on the back, there will be foxes. And here you can see how it looks like now. This is cotton quilting, quilter's batting or whatever it's called. And just 2 lines so far, and then I will probably add more top stitching to it. So that was this sewing. Behind me, by the way, this is the table where I cut my fabrics. It's fairly large, and it's very special to me because I had it custom made in Germany before I came to America, probably maybe 25 years ago, 23, 25 years ago. And it is a very fat, sturdy top that sits on 2 metal pieces that are on wheels, which makes it very, very practical. And it's a height that way back when I picked, I decided on the height, so it's a great work table. It's fairly large. You don't see much of it. It's quite a bit bigger. Well, actually, this is almost the end. And over here, you can see the other end. I should go this way. There's a stack of fabrics over here. What? Right here. That's right by the edge. So, what's new? What came to the house? What came home to me? What have I purchased recently? I told you I was shopping in Portland, Oregon. Oregon has so many yarn stores. When you do a search, so many came up, but that was the only one that I made it to for obvious reasons. Well, actually, I did go to one more, but that was kind of like a very odd yarn store. It was huge, but it had a quite small collection. It was a yarn store by Lincoln City, and when you came in, it felt like everything was on sale, and most of the stuff was sold. It was odd. I thought they should have probably, condensed things more, which would not have made you feel like they're sold out of most of their inventory or something like that. Strange store. But in Portland at, what's it called again? Pearl Fiber Arts. That's where I bought the yarn for Fiona's hat. And I also bought these 2 skeins, which very much remind me of Zauberball. But they are 100% merino and non-superwash. It says that they are sport weight, but to be honest, they don't look like a sport weight to me. Plus, they have a yardage of 230 yards for 2.5 ounces. That seems a lot for sport weight. I have no clue what I will make with these, but maybe fingerless mitts. I don't know. That's always my go-to for smaller amounts of yarn. And I just went by colorway, whatever appealed to me the most. I did not mean for these 2 to go together. This is yarn that comes from Stoneedge Fiber Mill, which I looked up. It's a .com site actually, and they are in Michigan. So this is called their Shepherd's Wool Crazy. And from what I saw on their website, they don't repeat any of these colorways. So gotta grab what you like, and it's pretty, and it's very, very soft and squishy. So I love how this feels. That was the yarn that I got. And then I also told you that I had ordered some buttons for my green cardigan, which also is not finished. I was not in the finishing mood. So I told you I showed you the cardigan last time, told you everything about it. So if you're interested in knowing more, go to episode 15. I talk about it at length. And I told you that I ordered buttons, and that I was so happy with how the gentleman dealt with me on Etsy. I mean, I essentially did a custom order. He really sent those buttons. He made the buttons instantly. He made an extra button when I wrote to him that I need an extra button. And so he's like, oh, I cut them already, but what? That's okay. I'll make you an extra one. And I received it before I left on the trip, and this is how it came packaged. Is that cute or what? Now look, they are exactly as I hoped they would be. Very rounded in the profile, very smooth, they're going to be awesome to use. The shop, again, is Woodland Workshop, and it's on Etsy, and he wrote that down, wild cherry tree branch. So nice. So those were the buttons, that was my yarns, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what's going on a different note. So I have upcoming this weekend, super exciting, another knitting retreat. I told you that the one in Winslow, Arizona, where I went to by train, was the first retreat that I ever participated in. Now this one came up after Winslow, and a friend suggested it and said, you know, it would be a chance also probably to vend some ZiaWoolz yarns, and so that's what I decided to do. And actually I will go there with my friend Lauren, who knew about it and who has participated in this retreat before, and it's the Ghost Ghost Ranch Knitting Retreat in New Mexico. It's close to Abiquiu. So I am super excited about this. Going to be my second knitting retreat, and I will bring yarn. However, not as much as I thought I may bring, just because I'm missing the past 2 weeks because I got sick. So but I have pulled out yarns from my shop, my Etsy shop, and I still had a little bit of stock. And so that's what I will bring. And I hope everybody who comes, and there's going to be a lot of people who come in from northern states. I'm thinking that the lady Anna who organizes it is in Michigan. I may be getting that totally wrong. Or is she in Minnesota? But so there will be a lot of people coming from out of town. So I hope they're gonna like to see a new to them dyer. So, and I also, oh yes, my friend Amor. She's the wonderful creative mind behind Crave Yarns. So I will get to see her there. She's also going to be participating and vending there, and she's just such a wonderful creative mind. So I first met her last year at Fiber Arts Fiesta here in Albuquerque, and I'm looking forward to seeing her again. She has since then opened her own brick and mortar location in Santa Fe, which I have no idea why I haven't visited yet. I will definitely have to do that soon, and it will happen. So this is on my schedule for the upcoming weekend. I know I'm going to bring my cardigan to work on. I will bring the socks to work on, and I will also bring my Lemmy K shawl by Isabel Kramer to work on, because that's going to be a present for my mom when I go to Germany this summer. It's kind of going to be my Mother's Day gift for her. So that's the plan so far. And also, so I told you that I haven't been dyeing much because I was sick, but also the other reason was that I have to say I have outgrown my kitchen. And if you have dyed yarn, you know that it's just tough, especially when you have family and around and they want to get to the kitchen, they want to fix food, and then you just have to be very, you just got to clean your kitchen all the time to make it usable for food. And it was just getting a little bit too overwhelming for me. And I have stalled a little bit in the past weeks, maybe even months, on making a decision what I do in regards to ZiaWoolz dyeing. I have now decided to move the studio into the garage. There is no air conditioning, but I don't dye much in summer because we travel, the kids are around, and it's just not a woolly season also. I don't know. But yep, the most exciting thing is that the work in the garage has started today. So happy about this. So what I did was, I knew they were going to start early this morning, and last afternoon actually, I got into the garage, I started blasting some music, and I was just moving stuff out of that area where the dye studio is going to go to, and so it would be ready for them to start working. And there will be two major things. There's going to be a wall towards the next garage, and with a cooktop and working surface added on that side, and on the other side, because that was always something that I was so uncertain about, but you have to have running water. So right next to our water heater is was the option without too much of a big deal to add a sink. So that's going to be, yeah, I don't know how long it's going to take them, but hopefully it's going to be done by next week. I am so excited about that. So very happy. It's going to be a fun space to use, and I can't wait to have that and to start working in there. Really great. A lot of shelving also, probably, hopefully as much as I can get, and just a great workspace. Wonderful. So excited about this. The other thing I wanted to mention is that it's again something that I'm so excited about. I cannot wait. The highlight of this year, or one of the highlights of this year, is that I will be going to Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. This is so dear to my heart because we used to live in Maryland, and I would go every year. As soon as I found out about it, I would go and visit. And it's always in May, as you probably know. And it's, yeah. Oh, later when the kids were a little bigger, I even went 2 days, and I usually went Saturday and Sunday. When they were little, I brought the kids. Later, not so much. It was my time. And I just remember the days walking away with the two big bags of fiber for spinning, and I just have the best memories. I have one friend that usually went with me, and she has since moved away from that area, so she's quite far away. So I'm not so sure if she's going to be able to come and go with me, but it's kind of this flashback thing where I feel like, oh, how great would it be to do it like way back then when we used to go together. So we're going to actually make it a little vacation. My husband and I were going to stay in the area for 10 days, revisit old places that we love to go to, like Frederick, just north of DC, and then Leesburg, which is on the other side of the Potomac, and that's where we have little Airbnb places, one in Leesburg and the other one close to the festival. And so I just can't wait. I hope I'm not going to be disappointed, because because it's just never how you remember it, right? So there's definitely, it's going to be much more crowded, because I think since then it's just gotten more and more popular. So I hope to see a lot of people. I hope to see meet a lot of new friends, meet other knitters. And if you are somebody who watches the podcast, please come up to me and say hi. I can't wait to meet you. And I want to take this as a chance also to thank everybody who has in the past months subscribed, has left a comment, has joined the Ravelry group, and has said hello to me. So yeah, and thank you for watching, as always. Thank you so much for watching. I am really so glad I have started this. I'm especially glad and thankful to Debbie of the Periscoping Sister, who encouraged me, and who actually with Amy gave me the first chance to be all nervous in front of a camera when Debbie was here in Albuquerque, and when when we had this funny episode where we talked to Amy over the computer and recorded an episode. So, and Debbie actually after that, she encouraged me. She said, you know, if you like talking about what you do, just do it. And that's what I did. And I'm glad to be where I am today. Thank you all. Thank you. I'm looking forward to recording next time, and I hope you all have a great time. Until then, bye-bye.